I'm super excited today about starting a brand new series. This is going to be the first out of 10. And the series I'm calling the Podcast Power Playbook. And this is going to show you what really gives you an edge and how to do it easily and effectively with your podcast. These are the little tiny secret tricks for world-class podcasting.
Welcome to Launch It, the Podcast Maestro, your gateway to becoming a thought leader in your field. Dive into the world of elite podcasting and master the art of influence and inspiration. And now, podcast personality, award-winning author and actress, Anne Scottlin.
Welcome back to Launch It, the Podcast Maestro. I'm Anne Scottlin. Thank you so much for joining me again today here on this podcast, which is specifically designed to help you become a thought leader in your field. I'm super excited today about starting a brand new series. This is going to be the first out of 10. And the series I'm calling the Podcast Power Playbook. And this is going to show you what really gives you an edge and how to do it easily and effectively with your podcast that you either already have or that you're starting. But first, as you may remember, my purpose of this show is really just to help you become a global thought leader by helping you create a world-class podcast. Not just any podcast, a world-class podcast. So most experts in their field will never get around to launching their own podcast because they think it's too hard, or they'll think it's too complicated or too time-consuming. Like, I'm already an expert. I'm already a full-time professional. I have so much to share, but I don't have any time to do this. Well, that is what I help you with here at the Podcast Maestro. And I'm excited today about our topic. But first, if you would, please like, subscribe on whatever platform you are viewing or listening today. And if you love this, shoot a link to one of your friends who might also enjoy it. That link that you're using for the live stream will also work for the recording afterwards, so they will be all set. So I really appreciate you liking and commenting. It helps me keep this content coming to you. So let's get started. Today, I'm excited. The first episode of the Podcast Power Playbook. Can I say Power Playbook? You know, you're supposed to do that like red leather, yellow leather tongue twister. Can you do that? Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. I used to have to do that for acting school. And man, I never got very far. All right. The Podcast Power. I did it again. All right. So we're going to just move on to the topic, okay, for today, which is leveraging social media to position your podcast. You really need to leverage your social media to help you make the statement you're trying to make in order to create a powerful image in your podcast and to really have a presence that is felt worldwide. So it's really important for you to understand how valid and vital social media is in establishing your professional influence and authority. You can't get around it these days. I'm not even going to go over it too much because you already know this. Whether you love social media, whether you hate social media, whether you love consuming it but hate creating it, whatever your relationship is with social media, it's still absolutely imperative to your podcast. Now, the only other thing that could possibly outweigh that is if you are a massive celebrity already, but even celebrities have social media. So it really, because the more exposure you get, I don't care how famous you are, how rich you are, the more famous and rich you're going to get. So you're going to still have to use social media, whether it's you or your team, somebody's going to be doing it. So let's just talk briefly about social media. And I'm going to give you a quick overview today of what I'm going to talk about. First, I'm going to talk about strategy development, which is crucial, platform specification, and then finally engagement techniques. So we're going to get right into the nuts and bolts, the nitty gritty of social media and helping you develop a social media strategy. So first of all, how do you develop that effective strategy? What do you need to do to create a comprehensive social media empire? Well, first of all, really simple, set clear goals. When you set a goal, I don't care where you're going. I remember back before we had GPS when I was like a teenager in high school, and my parents gave me permission to go on a road trip, which I still can't believe now. They gave me permission. I was a senior, I think. They gave me permission to go on a road trip with a couple of friends, and we were literally going to go all the way across the country. And we didn't have GPS. We still had maps. And so we had to set our goal and decide how we were going to get there. And there were so many alternatives along the way. And so what we wanted to do, though, was see cool stuff on the way. So we set goals, small goals that led to our larger goal, which was ultimately getting to New York City. And then less exciting, but still important, a goal to get home. But if you don't set clear goals, you'll end up wandering around the backwaters of gosh knows where, trying to find out what direction you're headed. Plus my sense of north, south, east, west. No, I know one of my girlfriends has the best sense of direction. I greatly admire her, but that gene just didn't stick. All right. So to determine what you want to achieve with your social media presence, you have to decide, what is it that you want? What do you want to achieve? This is absolutely critical. Are you just trying to increase more listeners? Is it just sheer numbers? Is that it? Is that all you're trying to do, is get views, listens, likes, increase your social engagement, your social media following? So if your podcast is just to boost your social media following, that is very different from if your social media following exists to empower your podcast. You see what I did right there? It's a huge difference whether your podcast is boosting your social media following, so you get more social media numbers for whatever purpose. Maybe you're a speaker, maybe you are just launching a new book, whatever that might be, or very different from using your social media to get you more traction with your podcast. So it really depends. You have to decide. And those are things that I can help you along the way. But this is what helps you establish authority in your niche. You have to know what your intention is. What is your purpose? What is your goal? You don't even have a niche. We're going to have to talk about that another day. You're already an authority in whatever it is you want to talk about. So that we have covered. And the importance is now you just have to align. You have to align your mission with the needs of your audience. And I am going to pull that up because my screen just blanked on me. So what else do we have to worry about when we're coming up with a strategy for our social media in order to really create a world-class podcast? Well, platform-specific content. That maybe seems like a given, but that's a lot of work, by the way, unless you have people helping you do it. And if you don't have people helping you do it, then you need to be even more strategic in how you choose the platforms and what you're going to put on for social media promoting your podcast. So choose the right platforms. What platforms are you looking at? What are most aligned with the following you already have? Just think LinkedIn, X, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and many, many more. What is the one that most of your audience is sitting around waiting for? Amazing content coming from you. Maybe it's academic. What is it? What is the platform that is most relevant for your content? And so first of all, you want to pick those platforms. Like, for example, I tend to work with, as a professional host and a professional business coach, I tend to work with professional people who are in mid-career somewhere, becoming experts in their field, already experts in their field, academics, other kinds of influencers. So what I usually put my content is just on LinkedIn and Twitter. That is the biggest one. Now, I still have Instagram, I still have Facebook, but LinkedIn and Twitter, X, are the ones that really target my audience. They tend to be well-read, well-educated, highly motivated, have budgets for things like a world-class podcast, because if you don't, this podcast will give you some awesome information, but it's going to also teach you the more expensive ways to do things to create that world-class podcast. Doesn't have to be outrageous, but we're going to teach you how to do it right from the bottom up so that you look like a world-class podcast before you're even out, before you even stream your first episode. So you have to also decide which platform is your target demographic. Is it Instagram? Is it YouTube only? Because some people just use YouTube. If you are a how-to demonstration person, if you're demonstrating how to make something, do something, prepare something, cook something, teach something, anything that's about demonstration, you almost certainly are going to be on YouTube. And then depending on that, what area might your followers be on LinkedIn, where you can find people with similar interests? So jumping over to LinkedIn, or maybe not. A lot of people would just be YouTube and Instagram being much more of a social platform, like teaching businesswomen how to dress for success. Let's just say that, for example, or businessmen how to dress for success. You're probably going to need a YouTube principle because you're teaching how to. We'll talk about all the other platforms you can air on your video and audio later, but you're also probably going to want to be on Instagram because Instagram is very heavy on appearance, personal style, personal preferences, and how-tos as well. So you want to align with that. And there's examples of different types that work best on platforms like LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. For example, there's a fine line between sticking tightly to the format of the platform where you think your viewers and listeners are most likely located, and also making it interesting enough to stand out. So, for example, when I first got on Twitter years ago, it was almost entirely a narrative, a written-based platform. It was just to write your thoughts, to write your comments, to respond to the news, to respond to whatever in written form. There were almost no visuals whatsoever. So I looked at that and I'm like, well, I have really great written content. I know it's going to be really popular, but people aren't going to know how popular it's going to be unless they actually read it. They're not going to help me get there. So for that reason, I didn't really align perfectly with the Twitter, as it was then, algorithm. I started posting graphics, pictures, images, photographs, with credit, of course, on every single post. Eye-catching, colorful, bright, meaningful, aligned with the content perfectly. I instantly started gaining traction because suddenly in a media that was almost all text, I had so many images that people's attention was just drawn to it. So that was a positive and that worked. Again, that's a few years ago. The algorithms are always changing. It might be different. Twitter is different now. There's a lot more visuals, but the algorithm could have worked against me too, which is she's not following the rules of Twitter, which is this is supposed to be a content-based only, a written narrative type platform. And we're kind of going to penalize her for using images because she's kind of trying to work outside of the framework, the intention of the platform. So you want to be a little bit of both. You want to be sure you're getting the algorithm to support you and push your content out. You also want to be fun and interesting and unique enough to stand out, but that is more for another day when I do whole workshops on this. So we'll just stick to the basics right now. And also you can only have to create your content really once. Create what it is. Is there an image? What should it be? What is the basic content about for promoting your podcast? And then you're just going to tailor those slightly or have your team tailor those slightly to each different platform. Facebook is a little different from Instagram, which is a little different from Twitter, which is a little different from LinkedIn, which is different from et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The layout, the design, the size and shape of graphics, how many words are allowed, et cetera, et cetera. How many links or hashtags you can or can't put in, on it goes. So it really helps to be working with someone who knows what they're doing, or if you already know this stuff like the back of your hand, you're good to go. And there's plenty of people who do know this stuff very, very well. So that is just what I had specifically laid out for you to choose your platform specific content and choose your platform. So first we looked at comprehensive social media strategies, setting your goals. Now we've talked about platform specific content. And then my third point today, as promised, is increasing your social media engagement. And again, this is a really high level overview. I could literally teach for days or weeks on this stuff. So this is a high level overview. So just take that. And if you want more, let me know. There'll be more coming your way. So how do you increase your social media engagement? What is social media engagement? Most of you know, many of you don't. When I first started doing this, I actually wasn't sure because I wasn't, just a techie only. I worked in professional fields, academia, et cetera, Hollywood. So I was like, okay, what's this engagement factor? Well, the techniques of engagement are pretty unique. Engagement just means it's numeric, it's metrics that show you how many people you are touching, influencing, or getting to take action from your post. So, for example, let's say on LinkedIn, what is your engagement? One, you'll look at how many eyes was your post in front of. In other words, how many people did it just stream past where they scrolled down, but they glanced at it as they were going. That's your reach, basically. And then how many people actually paused to look at it? Again, different platforms offer different levels of engagement measurement. Some are more precise, some are less precise. How many people clicked on it? How many people read it? Most likely they were on it long enough to read it and then clicked on a link that took them to a call to action page, or took them directly to your streaming show right then, or took them to the link of your show that has streamed that they missed. So first of all, that is how you are reaching them. That is how you are reaching out and engaging them in the first place. And that's how you measure engagement. But it doesn't stop there, because now you've engaged them. Now, how do you keep them engaged? It's like kids. Everybody's like kids. I say this all the time. I think I'm starting to say it in almost every episode. Adults are just like kids. They have to get their sticker. It has to be interesting. There has to be graphics, or there has to be sound. There has to be something in it for them. It's really simple, honestly, when you just get down to basics. If you can just consider those things only, you will definitely be ahead of the rest of the curve. So what happens when they comment? What happens when they repost? Well, those are things that you want to honor by engaging back with them. The real way to massively launch your engagement, to massively ramp it up, which gives you all kinds of advantages from just visibility to marketing, is to respond to everyone who has already responded to you. If you're on a platform where you can tell they clicked, you can thank them and send them a message saying, thanks for clicking. Or you're collecting their email on the other end on your website, and you can thank them from there. That's engagement. You can, when they like it, when they like something, there's not a lot you can do, although some platforms like Instagram, you can like the like or heart the like. It seems a little redundant, but again, it increases engagement. On Twitter, you can retweet. So if they retweet you, you can click on that, looks like a recycle arrow button, square recycle arrow, retweet, and see who were the accounts that retweeted, re-xed, I don't know, we're still in this transition, your post. And you can literally go in, click on each of those people, for example, and go in and leave them a message on their own feed or under one of their own recent posts. So they'll feel really like, wow, they actually checked out my feed. Huge points to feel like you're watching them and their content. That is massive. If they comment, if they say, thanks, this was super helpful, you want to say thanks back. You want to say, thanks, so glad you appreciated it. Or, if you are just a cryptic kind of person and you can't spend the time typing it out, at least give them a thumbs up or two or whatever. If you're an emoji person, figure it out. Words are also very helpful. So I use a mixture of both in helping people find what, responding to them and thanking them for being there. So that's just, again, a really basic overview, but this is how you increase engagement. So the numbers are changing all the time, but I believe on X, on Twitter, what's considered an excellent engagement rate, because most people's is low to non-existent, is like 0.5. It's like 0.5%, 0.5, 0.5%. My engagement from just doing the things I just told you over the last 3 minutes is 5.5. That's off the charts. I'm not a celebrity, but that's the kind of engagement that some celebrities get. And some may get outrageously more, but that is a really high number. So you want to pay attention to that and see the leverage that you're getting that. The more engagement you get out of your followers, the more likely they are to take action, click on your podcast. Then once they're on your podcast, they like you because you've been liking them. You've been liking their stuff. So when they're watching your podcast or listening to it, they're going to like it on that platform, whatever that is, whether that's YouTube or streaming or Apple TV or audio only. They're going to like, hopefully subscribe, hopefully comment. And then you start the whole process again. If they comment, you comment back on the platform where they are watching your show. This provides so much insight into how to reach people and which kind of people are most interested in what you have to say. Those are the kind of people you want to say, hey, shoot this. See, I did this earlier in my podcast today. Shoot this link to someone else you know. If you're in a particular field and you know other people who would love to hear this or have fun hearing this, shoot this off to them. So, really engaging with your social media is your engagement rate is basically a combination of marketing and networking simultaneously, if you will. It's like when I was a young professional right out of college and I was working trade shows and, I was basically marketing for the company I worked for, right? I was marketing. And then I was also networking. But then all the cards I got back in the day, and everything else, I would follow up with more intentional networking, like follow-ups. Thanks for coming. Glad to meet you. Loved what you had to say. Interested in your product. Would love to see how I could support you in your business. Would you like to meet for coffee sometime? So it's a combination of marketing and marketing and networking. So kind of think, if you're a business person, kind of think as social media is the trade shows of the 21st century in the third decade. Well, we've had it for a while now, but like it literally replaces it in many ways. I'm not saying I don't go to trade shows. I'm just saying the reach that you have on a global scale, as opposed to human beings that are going to physically walk through a door in a given city, you can do the numbers. And now, so quickly, a PS to the question of social media engagement in marketing your podcast, making it of world importance, giving you a special voice in the world that you might not have had without a podcast. I just wanted to continue for a moment to say, when you are sharing what you love, it makes your voice something unique, not just in your podcast and not just your voice, but your whole personality, your brand, which we're going to talk about another day. So one of the things you want to do is maintain the consistency of your voice / brand in your interactions with people on these social media platforms. In other words, you don't want to be an emoji only person, which is, I'm not a big fan, but you don't want to be an emoji only person if your audience writes long written responses to you. And also, regardless, no matter how you respond, it needs to be similar or the same. If you have a team working for you, like when my team is working for my clients, we go through all of their different their platforms, their social media platforms, their marketing, their websites, and see what is the voice, the tenor, the feeling, the vibe, the personality that comes through, so that we can respond accordingly to their social media posts. To the people who make comments, we get to comment back, but with the correct voice. So you want to stay consistent. Otherwise, it's super weird if your style completely changes one day from the other day. It feels like it's someone else. Anyway, again, these are the little tiny secret tricks for world-class podcasting. And really, you're making contacts for life here. Interacting with the people who listen to you, watch you, follow you, and are a fan of your podcast is such a great opportunity. I've made friends. I've guested on many, 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 many other podcasts because of people who I found and reached out to on social media and who had reached out to me. I've visited and spoken at events of people who I've literally met this way by striking up conversations in below social media comments and posts about my podcast. So don't underestimate the value of this. Like I said, it's really a combination of marketing and networking. So our time is up, but as you know, we chatted on 3 points today and on the power of podcasting, how to leverage your social media and help position your podcast, how to have a strategy, how to make your content specific to the platform or platforms that best support you, and showing you how to increase and maintain your social media engagement. And again, this was only the first of this 10-part episode, this 10-part series, which is the Podcast Power Playbook. So we're going to be back with more next week on branding and other things that you definitely need to know. So I hope you took your notes. I hope you send me questions. Shoot me an email directly. I'll respond. It's contact@annescottlin.com, and it's streaming here. Go to my website, annescottlin.com. You can message me there as well, find out more information. And I'm going to do it. Shoot this link to someone else who you think might have fun hanging out with us for a few minutes, talking about podcasting, how to start one, how to make one better, and mostly how to increase your global voice through a world-class podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Always streaming on the same time and place. And yes, please send me your questions, because I'm going to have an episode coming up soon where I just answer your questions. I still need to do that red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. You remember how those days when your brain is just going faster than your tongue? I struggle with that sometimes. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Happy podcasting. We'll see you next time.